This is New Day Weekend with Victor Blackwell and Christy Bull.
A beautiful New York there on this Saturday morning in October. We hope that you are feeling fall there as you feel the sunshine as well, because we need some. We need some good news. Take a look at what we have to tell you this morning. The United States has set a record for the highest number of cases ever recorded, not just in the U.S., but out of every country in the world. And here's the number. 99,321 Americans were infected in the last 24 hours.
And that's coming from across the country, coast to coast. Several states are hitting record highs. And the president is claiming that America is rounding the turn, is still holding these potential super spreader rallies, 4 of them today.
Now, listen to this number, 86.8 million. That's the number of you who have already voted. And we're still 3 days from Election Day, so both candidates are focusing on the Rust Belt today. These are key battleground states, obviously, that really are the reason President Trump won back in 2016.
And President Trump's 4 rallies are in Pennsylvania today. Joe Biden will be in Michigan.
President Trump won both of those states in 2016. Right now, CNN's Poll the Polls has the former vice president leading in both. And as the campaigns make their final push forward, as we said, more than 86.8 million of you have already voted. And just to put that in perspective, that's nearly 2/3 of the total ballots cast in the last presidential election.
Of course, we're covering the campaigns in every angle. MJ Lee is following the Biden campaign. Sarah Westwood is at the White House. Ryan Young is in Wisconsin. Omar Jimenez is in Michigan. And we've got our correspondents fanned out across the country. Let's start with Omar in Detroit. And the former vice president will have a big cheerleader, the former president, Barack Obama, with him today.
That's right, Victor. This is part of a final push by both of these candidates to try and get people to their side. Now, when you look at the people that have already voted, this has been an incredibly enthusiastic early voting period here in Michigan, especially. We've already seen 2.6 million people cast their vote. And to put that in perspective, that's more than half of the entire turnout going back to 2016, and more than half of the entire 2008 turnout, which was the most voted election here in Michigan's history. Now, when you talk about what we are going to see this weekend, we're in a period here in Michigan now where people can come and drop off their absentee ballots at places and townships and cities that are required to be open 8 hours this weekend, or they could come, as we're expected to see once this location opens in about an hour or so. You can come in, request a ballot, fill it out, and then turn it right back in again, all to be counted or at least processed in part before Election Day. It's a new process this year. For jurisdictions over 25,000 people, a day prior to Election Day, they are able to start processing some of these ballots so that by the time the counting starts here in Michigan at 7 a.m. Election Day when polls open, they're able to at least have a little bit out of the way. In fact, the Detroit City Clerk here is saying they expect to have at least 100,000 absentee ballots already counted by the time we get to the end of Election Day itself, because of course there's been a major concern about how long it's going to take to actually count these votes and how long it's going to take to see who actually wins this state, because we saw how close it was in the 2016 election with President Trump taking these 16 electoral votes by less than a percentage point.
Very good point. Omar Jimenez, we appreciate it. Thank you. I want to go to Ryan Young now, who is in Wisconsin. And Ryan, what do you think the Biden campaign has learned from 2016? It was Wisconsin is a state that Hillary Clinton didn't pay as much attention to, has been the criticism since then.
Yeah, obviously that's been a big question throughout this state leading up to this election. And I can tell you yesterday when we got on the ground and you started turning the television on, you saw all the commercials, both for Trump and for Biden. Obviously, a lot of attention being paid to this state. One of the things you have to talk about, though, is the impact of the coronavirus. And obviously, with the numbers sort of surging in this area, people are concerned about it. Now, this polling center right here is something that will open up in the next 3 hours. And one of the things you'll also notice is the fact that they've taken all their care to put the social distancing markings on the bottom. You talk about the idea of what they've learned since 2016. Well, Biden was here yesterday, and so was Trump. This is obviously a battleground state, and you keep hearing the push to the vote being out there. People are concerned about getting people to the polls. Already, 1.7 million people have voted. That's more than 56% of the folks who voted in 2016. So we feel that push so far in terms of this state. And when you talk to leaders throughout the city, they're hoping to get more young people out to the polls. That was a big conversation. I actually talked to some leaders yesterday who were telling me they're hoping to see in the next 2 days a sort of surge. Now, throughout the rest of the state, some of the early voting has already stopped. Here in Milwaukee County, of course, you can still vote till Sunday. So they're hoping there's that final push all the way through as people start to vote more. Now, in some of the Republican leading counties, they've seen a strong surge of people getting out to vote early. It'd be also interesting to see if people can turn those absentee ballots. There's still a lot out there. They're hoping people won't put those into the mail. They'll actually take those to the voting centers. Christy?
All righty, Ryan Young, good to see you this morning. Thank you, sir. So CNN's Sarah Westwood is at the White House. The president, we know, as we said, heading to Pennsylvania. What's the expectation from him today?
Well, Christy, today we're expected to see President Trump make his final pitch to Pennsylvania voters. He's got 4 events across the state today, and the amount of time that the campaign has him stumping in Pennsylvania tells you how valuable they see this state. It's got 20 electoral votes, one of those states that's a must-win, really for both sides. So the next president of the United States likely going to have to carry Pennsylvania next week. And we see Trump trying to drive turnout up in some of the more rural areas of the state, the western part of Pennsylvania, for example, because they need to overcome a major Biden advantage in the cities like Philadelphia, where Biden is pulling way ahead. He's also pulling ahead overall in the state. But if you talk to Trump campaign advisors, if you talk to Republican strategists, they say there's still cause for optimism for Trump in Pennsylvania. They're pointing to what they describe as their superior ground game in Pennsylvania. They've been conducting more in-person voter contacts, more get-out-the-vote efforts than the Biden campaign has. They started that process way earlier. And they also point to an uptick in GOP voter registration over 2016 levels. That's why they say they're still in the hunt for Pennsylvania, even though, as I just mentioned, Biden is leading. Now, Trump is expected to continue this breakneck pace of campaigning. He has 14 rallies overall scheduled between now and Election Day. 5 of them will be in Pennsylvania, so this is the state that he's visiting the most before voters head to the polls for the final time. But ultimately, this is the pandemic election, and Biden has really worked to turn this whole race into a referendum on Trump's handling of the virus. And Trump is making his closing argument about really this gamble that voters are more concerned about returning to normal life than they are about the virus. So these are the closing arguments that we are hearing from both candidates during these final 3 days of the election, Victor and Christy.
And Sarah, the president is selling this new conspiracy to try to explain away the numbers of deaths caused by this virus.
Yeah, Victor, we heard really just a stunning attack on healthcare workers from the president yesterday in Minnesota. He's baselessly claiming that doctors are inflating the numbers of COVID deaths in order to get more funding.
Our doctors get more money if somebody dies from COVID. You know that, right? I mean, our doctors are very smart people. So what they do is they say, I'm sorry, but, everybody dies of COVID.
Now, these comments have obviously drawn a lot of scrutiny, particularly from the medical community. And I want you to listen to one doctor's response.
The president is a liar. I mean, I'm sorry to say that, but I just can't take it anymore. Look, over 1,000 healthcare workers in this country have died trying to save the lives of their fellow Americans. And, every day they go to work and they're the real super people, the supermen and superwomen. They go to work every single day and put themselves at risk to put out the fire that he has stoked, and that his actions have continued to endanger the lives of people in this country.
And the president's baseless comments on that front and his ongoing efforts to minimize the pandemic come as we're seeing spikes across this country. Yesterday alone, more than 900 Americans died from the virus, and we saw roughly 90,000 new cases of COVID. That's just yesterday. So this is really the backdrop for the president making those comments in the Midwest yesterday, which, by the way, is also seeing, in some cases, record levels of COVID now. Victor and Christy.
Sarah Westwood for us there at the White House. Thank you. Let's go now to CNN's MJ Lee on the trail with the Biden campaign. MJ, former Vice President Biden is heading to Michigan, ahead by 8 points in CNN's poll of polls. What's his closing message there going to be?
Well, Victor, Joe Biden has made abundantly clear that he believes this is the COVID-19 election. We saw him yesterday traveling to 3 different states, and everywhere he went, he tailored his stump speech around COVID-19 and President Trump's handling of the virus. We have heard him saying over and over again the past few months that he believes the president has mismanaged this virus, has criticized him for not listening to scientists, and then laid out his own plan for how he would try to contain the virus if he won next week. And one of the things that we saw Joe Biden attacking the president for yesterday was this baseless attack against medical workers that Sarah just laid out, where he claimed that doctors were actually inflating the number of COVID-19 deaths so that they can make more money.
The President of the United States is accusing the medical profession of making up COVID deaths so they make more money. Doctors and nurses go to work every day to save lives. They do their jobs. Donald Trump should stop attacking them and do his job.
Now, something else that we have seen the former vice president stress over and over again is that he is not taking anything for granted right now, even despite national polls and key battleground state polls showing him with a lead. We saw him make that case in Wisconsin last night. Remember, this is a state that Hillary Clinton infamously did not visit once in 2016. Biden saying, look, I have traveled here a lot because I am not taking this for granted, and he believes the party didn't take the state seriously enough 4 years ago. Where we are going to see the former vice president today, as you said, he will be in Michigan. This is a state where Democrats are hoping to get the turnout up, and the former vice president hoping that he is going to be getting some help and star power from former President Barack Obama, singer and songwriter Stevie Wonder. And then heading into tomorrow and Monday, he is going to be spending a lot of time in Pennsylvania. So you look at these states that he is visiting in this final stretch, these are all Midwestern states that made all the difference for President Trump back in 2016. Guys.
All right, MJ Lee, thank you so much.
CENTCOM, the U.S. has set a new world record for coronavirus cases reported in a single day. And there are some health experts that think it's a bad idea for you to go to a Halloween party or for your kids to trick-or-treat tonight.
And if President Trump doesn't win Florida, the question is, will he stay in the White House? 29 electoral votes are at stake there. We're live from the battleground state later this hour.